165 million years ago, Atlasaurus, a little-known dinosaur, ruled over a strange and inhospitable planet. A world without grass or flowers, a world so ancient the Atlantic Ocean had not yet been formed. The death of this old sauropod was to spark an investigation into the origins of the largest dinosaur ever to have walked the Earth. The skeleton of this gigantic creature was found intact in Morocco, in the Atlas Mountains. Atlasaurus, the star attraction at the Rabat Museum, is the oldest complete sauropod skeleton ever discovered. It is a close ancestor to the well-known Brachiosaurus, the most imposing land animal of all time.
So here's the initial reconstruction.
Yes, the first version, before we had assembled all the bones. If I had to do it all over again, given what we know now, I'd make the front end higher than the back end.
Michel Montbaron is a geologist, Najat Akesbi a paleontologist, and Philippe Taquet, the head of the paleontology department at Paris's Museum of Natural History. The three scientists are on a mission to close a 35 million year gap in the history of dinosaurs, to trace the ancestors of Atlasaurus back to the very beginning of the sauropods, 200 million years ago, to the little-known early Jurassic period. 200 million years ago, before the Atlantic Ocean appeared, North America and Africa formed a solid landmass. To chart their common history, there is just one place in the world to begin: the high central Atlas Mountains of Morocco. The origin of sauropods during the early Jurassic period remains a mystery to this day. Everywhere on the planet, fossils from this era have been worn away by erosion or buried under miles of sediment. Everywhere, that is, except Morocco, where the crumbling of the Atlas Mountains has revealed traces of this mythical age in the history of the dinosaurs. These traces cannot be found on any map. Only an experienced geologist like Michel Montbaron, who has worked in Morocco for 30 years, has what it takes to find them. Following his lead, the team heads to the village of Azilal, less than 100 kilometers from the final home of Atlasaurus. Fossils that may be even older than Atlasaurus have been found in a farmyard. Paleontologists Philippe Taquet and Ronan Alain set immediately to work. Mr. Mohammed, the owner of the land, indicates where he discovered the first fossils, little suspecting their importance. Professor Dale Russell, a renowned American paleontologist, has come to this part of the world to study the ancestors of dinosaurs in his own country.
If you can imagine what a bone looks like, keep that image, that search image in your eyes, then you can actually see things. But if you don't have a search image, it's very difficult to find things. So that's why the first piece of bone is very important, because it gives you clues as to color and texture that help you differentiate it from the rocks.
The fossils are found in a sediment layer the geologists believe was deposited 180 million years ago, 15 million years before Atlasaurus. The discovery of a thigh bone puts the team on the trail of the great sauropod's ancestor.
This is a very, very rich deposit. Just look at that. Really? It's a beautiful animal. We can already tell the group of dinosaurs it belongs to. Look at that. See how it's been conserved. We have the thigh bone. Just look at that. An average-sized sauropod. Much larger than a rhinoceros. Bravo. Bravo. We're still in the Lower Jurassic, the end of the Lower Jurassic. That is about more than 180 million years. That's a time when we know almost nothing about these animals. And there's a very good chance this will be all new to science, so it's very exciting. Wonderful.
Unfortunately, the hardness of the rock makes it difficult to excavate the fossils. They fall apart with the rocks. For Dale Russell, the goal of this mission is also to reconstruct the very ancient world in which these primitive dinosaurs evolved.
What we want to do is to probe that. We have something that is more spectacular than Mars here. We have the evolution of life on Earth, one of the most absolutely beautiful and positive events that we know about in all of creation. So what we want to do is to find out what are the regularities, what are the trackways, what is predictable, and what are the probabilities. And don't you think that's going to be a ball? Wouldn't you like to be part of that?
When you're at the foot of the mountain, you see how gigantic it is.
Michel Montbaron is in search of even older sauropods. A day's journey from Azilal, he has discovered an upright slab that he dates at 30 million years before Atlasaurus.
Here we are. What you're seeing here is a limestone slab from the lower Lias, covered with dinosaur footprints. Three-toed theropods, most likely a tridactyl. Of course, when these footprints were made, the stone was horizontal. This was a plain covered with calcareous ooze, across which the dinosaurs ran, probably in search of food. Naturally, when the drift took place, when the Atlas mountains folded, these layers shifted. Of course, they were still covered by all the rest of the sediment from the Atlas mountains. And that sediment, those layers, were gradually worn away by erosion. And now they're close to the surface of the Earth. They're giving up their footprints, their fossils.
The Swiss geologist has called on his fellow countryman Christian Meyer, a specialist in dinosaur tracks.
Can you estimate the height of the animal?
With these measurements, no. I'll have to measure the length of the footprint. Wait, I'll go see.
The analysis of these tridactyl or three-toed prints suggests a fast-moving animal of modest size.
From the first digit to number 3 is 30 centimeters. So the haunch would be about 1.20 meters.
Okay, I've got it. I've written it down.
The prints aren't very clear, but it's a little theropod. The tracks are very straight. I think it's running, but I'll have to do the calculations tonight.
It's clear that if we found footprints on slabs like this one, we could find bones somewhere. Bones at the same level, of course, belonging to the same kind of animal.
This little carnivore, pursuing its prey along a lagoon in the Mesozoic era, suggests that a herbivore, perhaps one of the very first sauropods, was not far off.
So here we are on a dolomitic slab dating from the Sinemurian age, 195 million years ago. More or less the beginning of the Lower Jurassic. That's when the dinosaurs began to appear in most parts of the world.
Back in Azilal, enthusiasm has waned. The rock is much too hard, and the fossils too spread out for the scientists to reconstruct the dinosaur. Philippe Taquet decides to call a halt to the dig earlier than planned. But there's something else motivating him to move on. Fossil hunters have discovered bones on the other side of the Atlas Mountains, and he must act quickly before the site is plundered. The team heads for Ouarzazate to the village of Tondut on the edge of the Sahara. Geologists sent on ahead determined the deposit could be even older than the one at Azilal, perhaps as old as that little carnivore that raced along the inclined slab almost 200 million years ago. Excitement begins to mount again. The fossils were discovered next to a home where the scientists receive a warm welcome. Mr. El Hussein, the owner of the property, explains that fossil hunters had already begun to dig in the area. They had found some strange bones and had taken them away. The local people had tried to stop them, but they had guns and had stolen a lot of bones. But one of them had talked too much, and the police chief arrived. Authorities had to guard the site until the paleontologists arrived, because dinosaur bones are in great demand on the black market. Prospecting work begins just above the houses. There's no doubt the fossils are there, and picks and shovels soon make way for brushes. Philippe Taquet carefully removes a bone of an unusual size. He calls Dale Russell, who is working a little higher up.
Come have a look. What do you think of this? You can't see the other side, but I think it's a tibia. But it's fairly complete all the same. I have something else to show you. Fatima found this. Careful, don't drop it.
It's magnificent.
It's a spatula-shaped tooth, characteristic of sauropods.
It must be very primitive then.
How can you be sure it's primitive? It's hard to say.
A laboratory analysis will reveal the age of the fossil. Other team members discover the fossil deposit continues a little further up, and a second site is opened. Such a dense concentration of bones could be explained by the presence of a river that might have carried a number of animals and then dropped them all in the same place. An extraordinary 200 fossils, shoulder blades, ribs, toes, vertebrae, belonging to several different sauropods have already been found. A picture of Atlasaurus's much smaller ancestor begins to emerge. It seems that sauropods were not always giants. Among sauropods, the vertebral architecture varies with each family, depending on their stage of evolution. To help orient the dig, Michel Fontaine, advised by paleontologist Ronan Alain, sketches the skeleton as it must have lain when the animal died.
These little guys have in their backyard real dinosaur bones, honest to goodness. And it's like looking up at the stars at night. They're really there, you know. They're right in their backyards. And that has really got to stimulate their imaginations.
A shoulder blade, or scapula, attracts the attention of the specialists. They've never seen anything like it.
For a paleontologist, a primitive scapula with parallel edges like this tells us the animal is ancient, and that it's a sauropod, a primitive herbivorous dinosaur, more primitive than any that are classically known. And where the paleontologist makes his contribution, saying this deposit, by this single bone, is ancient, it is definitely, probably, very probably even, from the lower Jurassic. It is before the known sauropods. This scapula is older, more primitive than those we have seen in other, more evolved sauropods.
Before being moved, it must be carefully protected. Michel Montbaron and Philippe Taquet engage in a lively discussion about the age of the deposit. The results of this and all future expeditions depend entirely on accurate dating.
We're not in the middle Jurassic. We may be in the middle Upper Lias, but we could also be in the Trias.
An interesting discussion, but I'm betting on lower Jurassic.
Taquet is convinced it dates from the Liassic, a period in the early Jurassic 190 million years ago. Montbaron thinks it could go back as far as the Triassic, or more than 205 million years, some 15 million years earlier than the gap Taquet is hoping to fill.
The final answer will come from a combination of geological and paleontological data. And that's what's so exciting about this work. Finding evidence to support one theory or another, to confirm your first impressions.
To check his facts, Michel Montbaron heads back into the field in search of a site from the same geological level as the dig, where he can establish the age of the deposit once and for all. Understanding Moroccan geology is not an easy task. When the Atlas Mountains were formed, the layers of the Earth's crust crumpled, folding on top of each other and complicating the work of geologists.
I'm studying the structural geology now. I'm trying to make sure we're studying the same level and that we haven't moved into a red bed from a different age, a different type. The bed is lying at a 20-degree angle toward North 309.
A vertical cliff, untouched by the Earth's upheaval, shows a clearly defined layering of beds. They correspond to the light-colored calcium marine deposits and the darker red limestone land deposits that were built up over millions of years as the sea level rose and fell. The thickness and texture of the sediment reminds Montbaron of a limestone bed he knows well. It was formed during a period just prior to the Tondut excavation. This is the confirmation he needs to eliminate any doubt. The fossils really are from the lower Jurassic.
I've seen limestone layers like this one elsewhere in the Atlas Mountains, and they correspond to a period in the lower Lias about 180, 185 million years ago.
Well, he was right. Well, we had to make sure. It's best to eliminate all possibilities. All in all, it was a great day. Lots of excitement. Absolutely. The dinosaurs at Tondut are very, very old. Then, about 30 to 40 million years ago, the continental plate of Africa began to push against the European plate. Like this. Wow! A big collision. And here, the Atlas Mountains. The Atlas mountain chain was pushed up on both sides. So, the land that was flat like this folded like this. The dinosaurs were in this layer here. All the bones were here. And then, the rain, the storms, the rivers, everything began to wear away the mountains. Like this. The mountains were worn away more and more for a very long time, until this layer here, the bones arrived here, on the surface of the mountain that was cut. And so the dinosaurs of Tondut are here in this layer, and that's why we came here to look for bones and to study them.
The lesson continues on site. The dinosaurs of Tondut are trapped in a deposit plunging at a 45-degree angle into the hill. An enormous quantity of material must be shifted quickly because the days of the excavation are numbered. Meanwhile, work proceeds by hand lower down the hill.
On this slope, there is a spectacular accumulation of bones with vertebrae here. 1, 2, another one following it, a third over here in the same series, a fourth one further along, then a fifth, and a sixth. These are all no doubt vertebrae from the tail. In the middle of all that, a bone, probably from the forelimb. It looks like an ulna. 2 metatarsals, 2 bones, one upright, the other upside down, foot bones, and then crosswise some ribs. One here, one there, then an almost complete one there in that direction. An enormous arm bone, very exciting that one. A humerus with its spatula, that's the top end. And it's seen from behind. It's hidden in the bed. We're barely at the end there, and that's very important because it's a large bone. Given the age of the layer, we've already got large sauropods.
The bones of these very old sauropods are already fairly large. A lab analysis of their structure will perhaps reveal the construction secrets of the giant sauropod's successors, the Brachiosauri. The framework that supported their colossal bodies must have been both light and incredibly strong.
And there certainly are dinosaur remains here, and they certainly are interesting. The Atlasaurus was pivotal because it proved that primitive Middle Jurassic dinosaurs were present here, that earlier dinosaurs might be here as well. And that fills a huge hole in the record of the evolution of dinosaurs.
At the upper site, they abandon the mechanical shovel when they reach the fossil bed. Two perfectly preserved sauropod teeth stir up hopes that a skull might be found. This metatarsal, a small bone in the foot, gives some indication of the size of its owner.
There's more underneath. It's overwhelming. They're everywhere. The fact that dinosaurs ruled the Earth for 155 million years They dominated from the Triassic to the Upper Cretaceous, so they were a great evolutionary success. And I'm always annoyed by people who say, oh, the dinosaurs, they were large, stupid, nasty animals that disappeared because they couldn't adapt. That's completely false. The success of the dinosaurs is a resounding, fantastic success in the history of the Earth. Don't forget, humans have only been around for 6 million years. That's not very long. 155 million years is an evolutionary success. So if the dinosaurs hadn't been here, occupying all the ecological niches for that long period of time, history would have certainly been different. At the same time, there were little mammals as well, and if the dinosaurs hadn't been here, the mammals would have had lots more room to evolve. Our history might have begun 70, 80, or even 100 million years earlier, and we ourselves might have been on Earth a lot longer, perhaps. You can write paleontology fiction like that, and it's not that far-fetched.
Well, the sky is very opalescently blue and very pure and very clean. It's beautiful. And the sun coming up like that over the contorted foothills of the Atlas, where early Jurassic strata are exposed, makes me think of the dawn of the age of the sauropods. So long ago. I wonder how different it really was. A descendant of the ecosystems that were alive 180 million years ago. I'm now looking with my eyes on their remains, and it's I who am discovering them, and they are my antecedents. I'm not coming from an interplanetary probe to study dinosaurs. I'm the result of their world, and here I am, the first eyes that can see their bones and see their remains and think about them. It's really not the bones, it's what you learn from them that counts.
At Demnat, in the central Atlas Mountains, a dinosaur trail from the days of Atlasaurus gives paleontologists Michel Montbaron and Christian Meyer a chance to study the speed at which old dinosaurs traveled.
It must have looked like Atlasaurus, don't you think?
So that's about almost 1.20 meters.
What is?
The foot. Combined with the length of the stride, we can estimate the speed of the animal. And then we'll measure the length right here.
Just as the mud was drying, the dinosaurs passed by, leaving their footprints. When it dried completely, the prints were fossilized and preserved. During the next flood, or when they were covered by sediment, the dried footprints were preserved by the layer on top. I thought it ambled, but I'm not sure.
What's that mean, to amble?
To amble? If you put both right feet at the same time, then both left feet at the same time. Like this, and like this. Isn't that it?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Pierce right, 114.
The scientists take detailed measurements of the animal's footstep and stride in the hopes of finding important clues about its speed.
Now the stride, please.
Stride, RP 356.
356, good. I calculate the speed of 1 kilometer, 200 meters per hour.
Yes. Okay, but that's not very fast, is it?
No, not at all. It walked very slowly.
It walked slowly. And if it began to run faster, is that possible?
That could happen sometimes. It was able to reach speeds of 5 kilometers per hour. and in exceptional cases, 11 kilometers per hour. But then you no longer see the prints of its hands.
So this one was just taking a stroll along the beach.
That's right.
Just look at that. It's absolutely fantastic and very moving. It's as though it just walked by a few moments ago. They're so well preserved, so fresh, fantastic.
So let's go see if there are other tracks we can follow. The steps are very, very close together. Although the size of the prints are big enough for Atlasaurus. But the problem is the length of the trunk. If we calculate 2.5 meters, that's a bit short, huh? But we'll have to collect a whole lot of data and then check with the skeleton.
There are one or two very interesting footprints here. And you can make out the toes clearly.
Oh, that's terrific.
A little further on, in the farmyard, a carnivorous dinosaur has left its calling card.
There, the next one is underneath the manure pile.
Okay, now I recognize him.
You recognize him?
Yeah. We'll need at least a third one to have the stride, huh?
Together, fossils and footprints paint a picture of creatures that disappeared long ago.
This is a first. Manure ecology. It's a theropod.
The ancestor of birds, you mean?
That's right.
If we continue to dig along this slope, at this level, we'll find the rest. That's it, eh? It works.
Draftsman Michel Fontaine sketches the foot that left this amazing three-toed print.
To reconstruct a tridactyl foot, that of a theropod, a carnivore, we use the skeletons of known dinosaurs, as well as some living animals, such as birds, which have very similar feet and which leave very similar prints as well. It's mind-boggling to think of the animals that walked by here, alive.
It's hard to imagine the ancestors of these harmless creatures were ferocious predators. This man is not surprised by the appearance of the animal. When he was little, his parents told him it was a monster that carried off children who didn't behave.
It's important to draw them very precisely, to compare them with other footprints that have been found in Europe and even in North America.
At the Tondut site, an extraordinary discovery is celebrated in the traditional way. A sauropod jaw.
Wow! My God!
I was right, wasn't I?
Just like you said.
We did it.
This is a remarkable find, because in sauropods, the first neck vertebra is not firmly anchored to the skull. It can easily become detached, its fragile dental plate smashing into 1,000 pieces.
Would you mind taking a picture for me?
I think this is really a wonderful discovery. It really is going to make a difference.
We're in agreement. The evidence is piling up, and we're making very good progress with the inquiry.
I'm really happy. I'm very happy because it confirms what I've seen with isolated teeth. And the jawbone completely confirms it. These are animals we don't often see. They're not common among the dinosaurs. And we're really at the beginning. We're writing the history of the first of the great sauropods. It's very exciting.
This fragile piece must now be removed from the deposit and taken to the lab, where it will be extracted from the rock. This sauropod jaw is the oldest found anywhere in the world. A few weeks after the discovery of the sauropod jaw, paleontologist Philippe Taquet returns to the Museum of Natural History in Paris.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So, how's it going?
Oh, very well. The jawbone.
Just let me put on my glasses. Ah, yes. Oh, yes, very good progress.
Several teeth have already appeared.
And how many are?
Taquet is pleased with the progress made by his associate. He has already succeeded in uncovering several of the teeth attached to the jawbone.
They're much more widely spaced than a prosauropod, and much bigger, much bigger. It's even more impressive than in the field.
The lab work reveals the characteristic widely spaced teeth, proving the animal's great age.
Oh yes, a lot will be written about this.
This powerful jaw with its strong teeth was designed to handle the tough vegetation that formed the diet of this ancient herbivore. In the lab next door, paleobotanist Jean de Jacques aims to reconstruct the daily menu of this sauropod. In his arsenal are all kinds of strange Jurassic plants, which, like an alchemist, he plans to conjure up for us. The sediment is ground up, then finely sifted before being treated with acid.
Now I'm going to pour on some hydrochloric acid. This is the most corrosive acid, and it will destroy the minerals without attacking the organic materials. I'll leave it to act for about 24 hours. Now we may see a fairly strong reaction. Oh yeah, there it is. There, it's heating up now.
In the museum workshop, the sauropod jaw gradually emerges from its stone prison. This painstaking work must be done under a binocular loupe to be sure the bone is not damaged. The fossils are coated with glue to strengthen and preserve them.
This is the end of the toe, since it must have had about 3 bones, about that size. We've got others like that, and then a claw at the end, so he must have stood like that, and then with the rest of the foot ending about there.
Ronan Alain describes an animal too young for a prosauropod, the possible older ancestor of the sauropods, yet old enough to be a forefather.
If you replace the right bone here, you'll see the contact with the skull here. If you wiggle the bone is under the teeth. This is a very primitive characteristic found more in prosauropods. The number of teeth is very important. There are about 20, but normally in sauropod dinosaurs there should be only about 15 to 17 for the most primitive ones. As for the length of the skull, we know what that is. It's a relatively large skull. Actually, if you compare it to the Diplodocus, for example, it's an animal with about the same skull length as the Diplodocus, but with much shorter legs.
And those are also very primitive characteristics, since we know that as they evolved, the skull of the sauropods got smaller and smaller, and more primitive forms still have very, very large skulls, a bit like what we saw with Atlasaurus azalal. So we're finding about the same thing.
The next day, Jean Dejax collects the organic matter left in the acid bath. Ridiculously minute clues to reconstruct an entire life form.
And here I've isolated the fraction between 10 and 20 microns, the fraction of organic matter.
Dejax selects fragments of the most easily recognizable plants for examination under high magnification.
We're presently in the process of piecing together a puzzle that nature delivers to us in bits and pieces, partly in the sediment of large bones, and also in the sediment of very minute organisms. Bits of plants, like those I'm observing now, fragments of skin that will perhaps enable us to reconstruct the plant life, the landscape, the food eaten by the herbivores that graze there, in that plain, in that flood plain, covered with conifers and ferns, some of which were probably tree ferns.
New Caledonia in the South Pacific still preserves the memory of the ancient age of dinosaurs, as if time had frozen there some 180 million years ago. For scientists Jean Dejax and Dale Russell, a trip to the tiny island of Île des Pins, or Pine Island, transports them back to the glorious days of the early Jurassic.
So that's a very ancient form.
Yes.
It's,
we say verticillate branching.
Here, they can walk amongst the vegetation, immersing themselves in a landscape reminiscent of the dinosaurs. This Jurassic world is uniformly hot and humid. It is covered with dense pine forests, ferns, palms, and monkey puzzle trees. Not a single blade of grass, not a single flower, and thus not a single butterfly. Nature had not yet invented them. Jean Dejax and Dale Russell have found a paradise for sauropods.
We're arriving at a small clump with these magnificent monkey puzzle trees. They're still quite young.
Yeah, it's not bad here, huh?
The branches are very supple. Did you see all those ferns there, Dale? They're all the same species.
Lichen.
Yeah, lichen.
It's thick, huh?
Incredible.
It's full.
It's elastic.
Easy to plant here.
Yes, yeah.
A sauropod could feed here for hours.
There's nothing but these ferns, nothing else, except for a little monkey puzzle here and there. It must have made a nice grazing ground for them. A good diet, perhaps ferns very similar to those. Oh, they must have loved it. It's easy to imagine the animals moving around in there, eating Araucaria shoots and club moss, like we see here on the ground. They could also eat lichen. What we see here is a very rich humus with lichens and club moss. I think all of that must have provided a very good diet. The leaves are tough, but they had strong teeth.
What I see here is something like, if you have to go to, like the astronauts wanted to find out what it was like to walk on the moon, so they went to Sudbury in Canada, and they went to the Sahara Desert in order to find that environment that evoked the moon. And so here, if I want to go to the Jurassic, man, I'd love to have a two-way ticket. Then I would take a person here, an astronaut or a chrononaut, and take him here to New Caledonia and say, son, absorb this. It won't be exactly like this, but it's going to be a lot like it. Get used to it, because this is the Jurassic. One of the things I feel here about the plants is the simplicity of their growth. They're simple, and angiosperms do all strange things. Yes. But these are mechanical, they're stereotyped.
These are plants that did not feel the need to evolve because they had arrived at a certain optimum that allowed them to live in an ideal manner in a certain biotope. Morocco today is obviously very different from the Jurassic Morocco because, quite simply, evolution has greatly modified the appearance of the plants there. And we can easily imagine a landscape very much like this one in Morocco in the Middle Jurassic.
At Meteor Studios in Montreal, the Atlasaurus and its ancestors are brought back to life using computer animation.
See the animal here?
In his collaboration with the filmmakers, Philippe Taquet finally gets to meet the animal he has seen in his mind's eye for so long.
Its tail.
Oh, yes. It's wonderful to breathe life into an animal that disappeared millions of years ago. It's very well done.
While we were working on the drawings for the head, we weren't sure we had completely respected the shape of the skull.
Oh, yes, the head is good. The proportions streamlined, just as they should be. Yes, very good.
All right, then. I'm going to bring it to life now.
Oh, my, there it is. It's amazing to see it walking around like that, moving around. Really very elegant. Well done. Still nice and slender. What is really fabulous is to think that based on a little bone like this, called a chevron, attached to the underside of the tail vertebrae, we can say that this animal is a true sauropod, that it is probably the ancestor of all the great Jurassic dinosaurs, and in fact, of Atlasaurus, which followed it, and which is much larger, which will become, with its huge legs, like tree trunks, with its much longer neck and much longer tail, that it will grow to a height of dozens of meters and weigh several dozen tons. It's amazing to think that these dinosaurs were in Morocco at the right place and the right time, so we were able to find them. And they are the ancestors of the great dinosaurs of North America, of the Jurassic, because at that time Africa was still joined to North America. It's absolutely fantastic to see them moving around in their own environment as if we were back there with them. This is the dream of every paleontologist.
Through the accidents of evolution, our planet has kept the extraordinary vegetation of the Jurassic alive. And passionate researchers have breathed new life into a creature from a bygone age.
Yeah, that's quite an animal, isn't it? Our first best-known sauropod, 180 million years old.
Beneath its gargantuan feet lies the history of the world.